What are your thoughts on homeschooling? Because we had a very dicey conversation with Houston that got a lot of views on Instagram. Houston is very adamant about homeschooling. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so what was dicey about it? I'm curious. What led to it being dicey?
He said something similar to what you said, where if you bring a kid to public school, you don't know what they're teaching your kid, you know, the values that they instill in your kid.
Yeah, even private school. He believes that he can shape their viewpoints in their mind to a way that he believes is, I don't want to say correct, but in a way that's maybe different from everyone else.
Okay, so what's controversial about that?
A lot of people believe that it was sheltering to the child and that they're not going to have the social skills to develop and come to their own thoughts and experience the real world. Because once they're out there, they're not going to be in that environment where it's safe. And
I'm happy I was public schooled, by the way.
I'm public schooled as well. So, but I'll tell you this. So let's talk about sheltering. You don't think you're sheltered growing up? You don't think you and I were sheltered?
To a certain degree, yes and no.
I mean, think about it.
It's just compared to what, I guess,
but the sheltering, to me, it's not even from the standpoint of your parents. If you're living in America, say you're in, like, you know how you I'll go to Alabama and I'm like, you know, at a place doing a meeting and I'll go to a restaurant. And I say, hey, so where'd you grow up at? Right here. How long you been here? 28 years. What was it like growing up in Alabama? You know what people will say? The famous line. It's the only thing I know. She was sheltered in Alabama, right? We are all, in a sense, sheltered in the city we grew up in the state we grew up in, and in the country we grew up in. What you think about Iran is based on how the country sheltered you to believe in about Iran, right? What you believe about China or Mexico or Brazil or Canada, everything is a form of sheltering. So there is risk in, you know, everybody is a little bit afraid of the wrong influence getting a hold of you. Now, eventually, here's what happens. The sooner you teach values, later on, if this kid wants to go sell cocaine and go become a drug addict and do whatever he wants to do or she wants to do, that part's on them. You can't teach the right values and principles after 18. It's very hard. It's not received the same way as you teach it early on. So the sooner somebody teaches you the right habits, the sooner you have an edge. The later somebody teaches, like, for example, insurance industry. If I were to tell you, haven't been in this industry for 21 years, and that's going to be 21 years September, the people that gave us the most problems when they came in were people that came in who left 3 other insurance companies. And we would sit there, we'd look at it and say, why are we having so many problems with these guys? Well, they brought bad habits from another insurance company. The people that we train ourselves, we have the least amount of issues with because they're learning how to sell the proper way. You know, in mortgages and real estate, I don't know if you remember mortgage and real estate in 08, in 06, a phrase that was going viral was called creative financing. Are you familiar with creative finance? Okay, so you know what creative financing is?
Creative?
Creative financing.
Isn't that when they use a bunch of weird terms and stuff like that?
No, so he knows what it is. So creative financing would be, how much money you made last year? And you say $82,000.
Yeah, use that information to
No. So say you want to get a loan to buy a house, right?
Okay.
And I would say to you, don't worry about it. We'll make a fake 1099 that you made $220 last year, and we'll put in the file. Don't worry about it. We'll make a fake Bank of America statement.
Oh, wow. So it was
there was all of that going on all over the place with creating 06.
Yeah.
A lot of guys went to jail for this.
Ninja loans. No income, no job verification.
Yeah, no income. That's right.
So basically, it's stated. So you could say whatever you want in the application, and they're just like, all right, that must be true.
And let me tell you, creative financing was a wink-wink business model. Those guys that got trained in creative financing, wherever they went to next, they brought those habits with them to the next place. If forgery was a normal habit at that real estate office or mortgage office, you brought it into pharmaceutical sales. You brought it in digital media agency. You brought it into stocks. You know, it doesn't matter. So that habit continues. If there's a reason why people hired people away from Jack Welch. There's a reason why companies recruited people away from Xerox. Xerox was known for training their salespeople better than anybody else. If you got a guy away at 29, 30 years old away from Xerox, and his first job was Xerox, you're doing backflips because Xerox was known for having the best training. Like I came from Bally's. Bally's was known for having the best sales training out of everybody. So guess who went and recruited people from Bally's? LA Fitness, 24-Hour Fitness. Why? Because we were the best trainers. We were trained the right way. No misrepresentation, none of that stuff. It was the right way from the top. So what's the moral of the story? He's right, homeschooling. I won't homeschool because to me, homeschooling, not everybody makes a good teacher where I'm going to have the time or the ability to have my wife teach. Teaching is not for everybody. If you can have somebody else do the job for teaching, it's great. But I support the idea of people wanting to do homeschooling today because they're scared of what's going on with the marketplace, what the kids are being fed today. That is a big risk today. When you have kids, you look at it from a different perspective. Look, guy asked me today, security asked, the guy that we all came through here, the 70-year-old man up there who is from Virginia, went to World War. He's 7 years old, been here for 50 years. Him and I are having a conversation this morning at 6 a.m. when I'm checking out the property. We're talking about schooling and stories about, what the school's like. He says the same thing. He said, look, I wanted to have my kids be in an environment where they're learning a certain values and principles. You go to public nowadays, somebody's raising your kids. It's a very, very big risk today. Very big risk today. Very different today than when I went to school. It's a very different risk today. So I fully understand it. But if you don't have the means, you don't have the choice. You have to go through public schools.
If you enjoyed this video, I gave a keynote a few weeks ago in Las Vegas, specifically on the topic of cracking a code to content creation. If you've not seen it, click here to watch it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.